Forgot things. I already forgot to hit that button to go live on Shorts. So I am now officially live regularly and on YouTube Shorts if you prefer the vertical stream. I love to provide the options for everybody. Clone Wars is doing good. Arnold, everything's good. First day at work in your new job. Arnold, awesome. How was it? How did things go? Are you like first day at a new job is always I'm of two minds of it. So usually it's one of the easiest days you'll ever have at work because you're usually getting there, you're getting yourself familiar with things, you're getting yourself settled in. Usually you're doing the usual like hey, I'm getting to know the people I work with. I'm sitting down. This is my desk, all that stuff. So Shorts haven't started yet. I think there's a little bit of a delay because I see the ads running. So maybe there's a bit of a delay there. Usually there's a weird delay whenever I hit the button on Shorts. And it could be as high as a minute. So if, like I said, if you prefer it there, check back. It should be up there soon. But yeah, usually first days are easy, but it could also be a little nerve-wracking, you know, because you don't know how things are going to go and all that. The first weeks are usually the easiest weeks. You know, you get to learn, okay, this is what I'm responsible for, all that kind of stuff. So I always remember feeling both nervous and excited during first days at new jobs. And the week goes like this. It goes like really fast, at least in my experience. And then usually the second week is when you get down to the nitty gritty, the down and dirty stuff, if you call it that. But let's see. Arnold now back on the vertical stream. It was hard. Try to learn. Big super. Oh, okay. Awesome. So you're like in the meat department. Would you be considered as a butcher or just someone who handles all the sausage meat and stuff like that? Clone Wars said, one job, entire life, stop to pursue martial arts, teach and compete. Well, that's nice. I mean, at least you're able to follow your passions, right? Now, when you say you don't get paid, so what do you exactly do for money then? I assume you get paid a little bit of something, right? Don't you kind of wish where we kind of already started living in that utopia-like universe or world that Gene Roddenberry wanted us to be in Star Trek, right? Where there's no such thing as currency, and based off of your contribution to society is how you get certain credits and all that. Don't you kind of wish we lived in that type of world where you don't have to worry so much about money and currency, paying bills? 35% butcher, 65% sell. Cool. Well, I hope it works out well for you. I hope you like the place you're working at. So I hope everything's good. You know, always wish you the best of luck for that. What's going on, Jester? Nice to see you back. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you are enjoying your Monday so far. Clone Wars said, don't get paid at all. Don't even have a driver's license. Still 14, turning 15 in November. Oh, I mean, you're young, dude. You still have plenty of time for that stuff. Oh, thanks. Yes, I like this. This is one of the shirts I got the last time I went on the Warner Brothers studio tour in California. If you ever find yourself in LA and you're looking for like a really amazing like studio tour experience, I think Warner Brothers has the best you could ever take, you could ever go on. Not only do they show you the backlot and sets and like scenes and all that, you get to see a lot of props. You get to experience how it's like to do voiceovers for movies and camera work and special effects. You could easily spend the whole day there. That's how much fun I had. So I can't recommend that experience enough because it's one of the best like studio experiences you'll ever have if you ever have a chance to go. Best DC show in the last decade. It definitely was. It was again James Gunn. I always know he's going to do something special. If anything, the Peacemaker show showed us that John Cena is not just like a comedic actor. He can do some serious dramatic stuff too. And his performance surprised the hell out of me in Peacemaker. I knew he was already good in the movie Suicide Squad, right? But to see his performance elevate in the Peacemaker show, I mean, I can't wait for season 2. Even though obviously there's a lot of confusion as to where does this go, where does this belong in what universe or whatever. I'm just looking for a continuation of those characters because it's him and Vigilante are just like some of the funniest characters I've seen on TV. Clone Wars is going to Hollywood Studios while in Florida for your tournament. Hollywood Studios is fun too. I really love Hollywood Studios at Disney. Obviously now that's where you can do your Star Wars stuff. So if you have a moment, you have some free time, I highly recommend doing Star Wars Galaxy. Hopefully we don't have to kick anyone today, but you never know what's going to happen with these streams. Arnold saying, didn't fit in my old work. I needed something new, deserve now less, and it's not an excellent job, but I do. Hey, look, I mean, at the end of the day, you always have to try to find something you do that will make you happy, as well as, support yourself, right? Sometimes we have to do jobs that we don't want to do just to make ends meet, just to make the money to help us survive and all. But, if you could find something that you're passionate about or you enjoy, then that's a big bonus, right? So, again, always, I wish you the best, man. I hope things work out. It's only one day down. You have a long ways to go. T, what's going on? Good morning to you. Hope you had a great weekend. How's everyone's weekend? Was everyone's weekend good? And I hope everyone's having a great start to their Mondays. Also, if you're watching on any version of the stream, don't forget, hit that like button. It will be greatly appreciated. Everyone here will be so happy the more likes these streams get. That means the community can help grow and we get to connect with more people. So obviously, the more likes we get, the better the streams become. So always appreciate all the support and all that. Too damn fast? Yeah, that's the weekends. That's usually how it is. Yeah, I feel like the weekend is a blur to me. Mainly because, like I said, I had my barbecue on Saturday, and trying to recover from all of that was a hot mess for myself. But this week is going to be an interesting week. So for myself personally, tonight I'm very excited because I have a chance to check out a screening of Longlegs, a movie I've been very curious about, very, very interested in checking out. So I'm going to be very happy to see that tonight. Hopefully, sometime tomorrow, I'll probably put up some sort of review video on it because I don't know if I could wait till Wednesday to talk about it. And then Wednesday, I'll be having a chance to see, what movie am I seeing on Wednesday? I'm watching something on Wednesday. I forgot what. Then, of course, we have the holiday on Thursday here. I may do a special holiday stream at night to just hang out and see what happens. Just to have some good old fun and all that. Maybe I'll play some games online. Maybe hopefully could play games with you guys if you're interested. Do some trivia games maybe or something like that. And then Friday is Friday. And there's a lot of stuff dropping. Well, we have the new Beverly Hills Cop movie dropping on Netflix this week. So I'm planning to watch a lot of Netflix movies that I haven't had a chance to watch that came out recently. And maybe that's going to be our discussion on Friday. So yeah. Arnold weekend was good. Looking forward to the House of Dragon episode. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So today we're going to be talking about obviously box office stuff. Big news from the box office over the past weekend. I had a chance to watch In a Violent Nature over the weekend. So I really can't wait to talk about that. I had a chance to talk about it with some friends over the weekend at the barbecue. And it's just really interesting. So I can't wait to talk more about that. And then, of course, we will talk about episode 3 of House of the Dragon. So get ready for some fun discussions today. What's going on, Ravi? I haven't seen you in a minute. Inside Out 2 is going to win animated feature. I can see it happening. As of right now, it has the strongest ever possibility to win that honor. So I don't see right now any other animated film releasing this year that could compete with it. I don't think Despicable Me 4 is going to be able to compete with it, but yeah, I think Inside Out 2 is going to bring Pixar back into the fold as far as awards contention. I have not watched Pretty Liars. I was curious about it for a while, but I've never had a chance to see it. It's not going to be another Boy and the Heron situation. Yeah, that last year was tough because I would have easily have given it to either movie. Honestly, I understand and I recognize Spider-Verse was a brilliantly done movie, very well done, great animation. Pushing forward the boundaries of what they can do in animation. But Boy and the Heron was such a classic story and way to tell a story through animated feature. And Miyazaki is just the king of that. So my heart really wanted Boy and the Heron to win. But like I said, I would have easily have given it to either movie. Very easily so. I've seen too much of the one. Yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot of things I have to talk about this past episode of House of the Dragon. Because it's funny, because last week or the week before, weren't we talking about, oh, it's nice that they kind of cut back on the whole sex stuff. Oh, boy, did they heard you. They heard us somehow, and they're like, oh yeah, just wait. We got more to show you guys. Wild Robot actually came out last year. So I think it was in contention, I believe. Wait, Wild Robot. Oh, no, I'm thinking of something else. Sorry. Never mind. Scratch that. Wild Robot is the new movie that kind of almost looks like a Ghibli movie done by another studio. It reminds me very much of Castle in the Sky with that style of robot. Also kind of like what is that? Iron Giant in a way, right? So I don't know. It looks like it could be cute, but we'll see when that happens. But I think Inside Out 2 definitely has a stronger chance for Oscars. You know, I like it. Oh, I definitely have thoughts on it for sure. That was a wild episode, I tell you that. A wild episode. All right, let's start talking about some of the topics for today. And yeah, let's talk about. Hey, hold on 1 second. I just realized I forgot something. Hold, please. All right, I think I have everything I need here. Actually, Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Sorry. I just have to do something real quick. Okay, I think that's good to go. All right, sorry everybody. I just realized I forgot to turn something on. Um, Arnold saying, "Don't believe like this live stream ever after a stressful day makes me happy." Oh, I'm glad. That's really nice of you to say that. I'm glad. I'm glad that you can relax while watching this stream. Cosmic Vision. Well, I appreciate you asking for advice, but that's not the kind of topic we talk about here. I don't know if anyone wants to help Cosmic Vision with his situation, but I appreciate the comment. It's a very sticky situation. Ravi. Oh, look at Ravi hopped on over to the vertical stream. Let me know, guys. Is the vertical streams the type of like format you guys really prefer? I'm just curious, like what people prefer, because it's interesting how it seems like a lot of you guys love the vertical stream. Do I have hopes for the second Moana? Um, it's hard to say right now. I mean, the teaser trailer that we got didn't really show us a lot. I'm sure there's going to be some catchy songs. I'm sure there's going to be interesting follow-ups to. It looks like now she's expanding, right? So it's more like, it was all about her main parts of the island that she's trying to unite and be close to and all that. But then now she's expanding out into the ocean and going further and further out, right? To kind of like make sure everyone is in sync and in unison and all. So I think story wise is going to be kind of interesting to see. I never thought Moana needed a sequel, but we'll see what happens. Sometimes they surprise us with that kind of stuff. Yeah, it makes sense that this concept that they had felt more like a TV show. But I think they're trying to cut back on Disney Plus programming because they need to find a way to get back money at the box office. So it makes kind of sense that they kind of switched their strategies there. And they're doing the same thing obviously with Marvel, and then they may eventually start doing that with Star Wars, even though I think Star Wars for the most part does much better on Disney Plus for now. Clone Wars, I have not had a chance to watch any of the Matt Enig things yet. Again, Imig, sorry. I do have the note here still, reminding myself to check it out. It's just been a little nutty for me lately, so, but I do want to check it out for sure. And nice to know that you like the vertical stream there. Again, everyone who is just hopping in or swinging by for the first time, don't forget, hit that like button. I would appreciate it. I guess someone at Disney came up to Walt Disney Animation Studios, former Give the Ladder, the project to tinker with. Yeah, it could be. Could be. I think, what I think it was, I think it was obviously a major surprise to everyone because I don't think anyone was expecting there to be another Moana movie, right? So I think the strategy that Pixar already said it themselves. They said they're going to focus moving forward on things that people want to see. And they feel like that's going to be a lot of sequels, a lot of follow-ups to other existing properties, things that they know they can bank on in order to get people back in the box office. And I think Disney is following suit on that. That's why we're getting Zootopia 2, right? That's why we're getting now this Moana 2. So, it's just very, very um, fascinating and interesting to see how they're changing their strategies. But as a business sense, it makes sense. Honestly. Clone Wars, you could plug whatever you feel like. No, 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 nothing wrong with that. I do have Instagram. If you look at the description of the video, there should be a link to my Instagram. And if you can't see it there, just look for the LOWKEY Geek on Instagram, and you could find my Instagram profile there. Arnold, I didn't even have a chance to look at anything yesterday. I still have your notification that you shared something with me, so hopefully either later today, um, or sometime this week, I'll check it out. Yeah, honestly, like yesterday, I was just so exhausted. I was literally just on my couch, and I had the TV on. I don't even remember what I was watching because I was spacing out so much. I was just like, what am I watching now? Yeah, but I'm definitely going to check it out. You have my word on that. All right, let's get into our first topic today. I drink too much. But it's funny. I really don't, because it's like I only drink when I go out. Like I never drink at home. And I was explaining this to some of my friends too, because um they know me from the past where I used to always want to have a drink or go out. I don't go out as much as I used to. And since I don't go out as much as I used to, I don't drink as much as I used to. So I think a lot of people were kind of surprised, when I said, oh, I haven't drank in a while. And they thought I was doing like a sober thing. I'm like, no, it's just I don't drink at home. So I only drink when I go out. Be very, very boss if anyone wants to drop a follow. So yeah, so why don't uh you have the floor there, Clone Wars. Why don't you quickly promote the Instagram page there in the chat? Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Clone Wars, he competes in martial arts competitions and tournaments. That is a passion of his that he's been like really like going forward with. Even though it doesn't seem to pay anything, he is doing that as much as he can. So, and there he is. He just shared with us the Instagram profile. So definitely check it out when you have a moment. Like I will. I will definitely check it out when I have the moment as well. All right. Let's get into our first topic. And obviously, on Mondays, what I like to do, I like to go over the weekend box office. So why don't we do that right now? It's the weekend box office. Let's go. We're talking about movies and how much money they make. More money than I'll ever see. I'll tell you that much. Especially with the aforementioned Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2, I think to most people's surprise, even the professionals who do all the stats and analytics and everyone who does these predictions, I don't think anyone was expecting that Inside Out 2 would be the first movie to join the $1 billion club this year. And it has done that over the weekend. So let me share my screen here with everybody. As I am on thenumbers.com, my site that I use to check out all the stats and info and all that stuff. And I did say last week when I was giving my review about Quiet Place, I said it's going to do well. I said it was going to do like around 40 to 50. But I also said that I think Inside Out 2 was still going to be number one going into this weekend. And I was correct in that. It just barely, though. So you see Inside Out 2 remains in number one, $57.4 million domestically over the weekend. Overall domestic gross is 469. 69. I'm gonna come. 469.3 million, with a worldwide box office total of $1 billion, everybody. So really, really happy to see Inside Out 2 getting the recognition, getting all the love from everybody. And it's interesting to think about too, because again, no one was expecting this to happen. But when you have a movie that has a great story, a lot of people already loved the last movie. So this was like a perfect continuation of all of that. You know, it says a lot about the movie when it can make this much money in what, 3 weeks time? Hasn't even been a full month yet and has done so much money. What's going on, Aggressive? Nice to see you back here. Inside Out 2 was great. Absolutely. I 100% agree. Is this a new record? It's definitely one of the fastest animated films to reach $1 billion in such a short period of time. I don't know officially what the records are, but I personally don't recall any other animated feature film that hit the $1 billion club this fast. So definitely very happy for Inside Out 2 there. And then A Quiet Place Day 1, 53 million. Nothing to shy at, nothing to sneeze at all. That is the best debut in this franchise out of all the movies, even though you need to put an asterisk there because Quiet Place 2 came out just around the time movie theaters were starting to open up again during the pandemic. So you still didn't have a lot of people going to movies. But for day one, to have a worldwide box office of 98.5 million, that is a great achievement for that movie. And I'm really happy. It's also well deserved too, because I think that movie was well worth the watch, especially in the theater with the sound, because the whole usage of negative sound is so well done in this movie like that. So really, really happy for that. Horizon, another new movie. This is the chapter one kind of Western saga that who's that? Kevin Costner is doing. There was a lot of hype about this movie coming out, especially with the drama about him leaving Yellowstone and how he was not going to be a part of Yellowstone anymore. And now we see him doing his own Western kind of saga story. He's doing an interesting thing here where chapter one is releasing this past weekend. And I think in about a month or two, chapter two is coming out. So both chapters are releasing in the same year. But didn't do that well. 11 million at the box office this past weekend. I wonder if it's because a lot of people aren't aware of it, or maybe there's just a lack of interest. Or this could be also another situation where I think people are just, you know what, I don't want to go to the theater to watch this. I'm just going to wait until it streams at home. So that could be a situation that we're seeing with this here. Bad Boys Ride or Die is in fourth place, 10.3 million, 165.2 million domestically overall, with a worldwide box office of 331.9 million. So I think Bad Boys for Life is doing extremely well for itself. And it's Will Smith, you could see he's slowly making his comeback, right? He is featured in this movie, even though Martin Lawrence was the main star, I think, in my opinion here. But over the weekend at the BET Awards, he performed his new hit single, or I don't know if it's going to be a hit single, but his new single. So he's slowly getting himself back out there into the public. And I think this is going to be a start of perhaps maybe the Will Smith renaissance. I don't know. We'll see what happens. What's going on, Scorch? Scorch is joining us this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope your week is starting off brilliantly. Always a pleasure to see you here. Arnold saying would look forward to a new Hotel Transylvania. That's another animated series that they do really well. You know, a lot of people love watching those movies. So I'm pretty sure they'll be working on one for sure. And then after the fourth place, we have Bike Riders, 3.3 million, Garfield Movie, 2 million, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, 1.7 million, Kinds of Kindness, which kind of opened up more nationwide this past weekend, 1.5 million. I think this is the kind of movie that I'm not expecting to do a lot at the box office. It's just not that, it doesn't have that broad range appeal to general audiences. But I think because of the noise Yorgos made and Emma Stone made with Poor Things last year, I think a lot of people are more interested in seeing what's happening here. I have a feeling also they're going to be taken by surprise because it's not the same type of movie. But I also do think a lot of people are not fully in the know that he has a new movie out yet. So I'm sure we may see some movement, especially moving into this weekend. It's a holiday weekend. I think officially now it's safe to say every kid is off from school now for summer break. And this is the full weekend where all the families can hang out, have their barbecues, rah rah, celebrate America, and then go watch a movie or something. So I think we're going to see a lot of these movies kind of pick up pace as far as box office is concerned. Then, if 1.3 million, Thelma, another low, like small independent film, 1.3 million, and just a couple of other things. Daddy-O, new Sony Pictures film, not even breaking $1 million. So we have a lot of small movies out there that were released this past week. But for the big names, I think they did a pretty good job overall as far as their performances are this past weekend. Something of note, I want to kind of just look back on the Quiet Place franchise. So let me look that up because I want to kind of compare and see how the other movies have done. But the big question I have here is like, we're seeing a lot of these movies doing well now, right? Inside Out 2 performing extremely well, I think to everyone's surprise. Quiet Place, which is a movie that I thought people were excited to see. And I knew it was going to do okay, but I wasn't expecting it to do as well as it did this past weekend. I wonder if we're seeing the reset of the summer movie season. And when I say that, is that way before, and I'm talking about like maybe 10 years ago or so, or whatever, the official start of the summer movie season was always kind of June-ish, right? Usually around the time when schools let out for summer. You really didn't see a lot of lead in May, so much so. But any movie that came out in June, maybe end of May, like around Memorial Day. So like around that time, July was a big movie month. August is a big movie month. So, but then in recent years, not including the pandemic, I feel like the box office saw a lot of success in the months of March, April. So we were seeing like movies doing so well way before the official summer movie season, right? And I think a lot of studios were like, hey, we're seeing a lot of success here, so let's start releasing movies a little bit earlier. April, early May. We saw that with, this past year with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Fall Guy, but with varied success. Fall Guy didn't do too well. If didn't do anything that they thought it would. Kingdom, a little exception there, but it's a beloved franchise, so I think a lot of people are really excited to see it. Furiosa crashed and burned. No pun intended in that one, but didn't do so hot. So I wonder what would have happened if they waited and maybe they released these movies in the deep middle of summer. End of June, middle July. I know competition is going to be fierce and tough because you have so many movies coming out around that time. But I wonder if that's the trend that we're seeing now, But I think in Inside Out's, 2's case, the fact that Disney has made it very clear, not coming to digital anytime soon. Streaming, don't know. The earliest we can get maybe September, October. It's going to be They're having a hard dedication in theaters only for this movie, and I think you're showing the result of that. You know, of course, it's a great movie overall, but I think people knowing or at least being told that, oh, I'm not going to be able to stream this in a month. Oh, maybe I should go out and watch it. I'm hearing a lot of good things about it. So maybe that's really helping overall, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So here we are. Here are the numbers for A Quiet Place, the franchise. And like I said, part 2, major asterisks there because in 2021, the movie theaters were slowly reopening. People were slowly going back to theaters, but you can't really judge it so much so. But the first Quiet Place that came out in 2018, overall domestic gross was 188 million, worldwide 334 million. For a movie like that, first time directorial debut, John Krasinski, I don't think it had a high budget either. So I think that was a very decent return there for them. Part 2, obviously did less. Like I said before, it was a time that was kind of hard for movies. And now you have Day One here with their first opening weekend being around 53 million, 98.5 worldwide. I have a feeling Day One is going to end up doing very similarly to what the first Quiet Place did. I can see this movie hitting 300 million worldwide. I don't think it's going to surpass it, but we'll see. I may be pleasantly surprised if I look at these numbers in 2 months later on down the road. But I do think it's going to get closer to what the first Quiet Place did. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's entertaining. It's thrilling. There's a lot of scary moments in it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it overall. And I think word of mouth is going to spread around and say, hey, you have to watch this movie. Hey, you should check this movie out. This is a lot of fun. I was getting that on Saturday at the barbecue because I think amongst all my friends, I'm the one who sees the most movies. So everyone was asking me, what did I think of Bad Boys? What did I think of Quiet Place? Inside Out 2. I think 2 other people saw it and we couldn't stop talking about it. And how it's like, you have to watch this with your kids. It's definitely a family movie you all have to go out and see. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens this week. We have one major movie coming out, and that's Despicable Me 4, which I personally am not planning to see because I have not seen any of the recent Despicable Me movies. So I feel like I'm not as invested as other people are. I will eventually see it, but I personally am not going to see it this week. There's, I think, an early preview of Fly Me to the Moon, I believe that movie is called, the Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum movie, which looks kind of interesting to me, about them kind of faking the moon landing just in case the real mission goes wrong. So I think that's going to be funny to check out. And there's this other movie on Wednesday I'm going to see, but I can't. Oh, Maxine. Maxine comes out this week. So I definitely want to check that out because I'm a fan of Mia Goth, and I think the X series is an interesting series. So we're getting a lot of horror films this summer, which is, one thing I always say is that there are certain genres you could never, ever doubt when it comes to box office draw. Religious films, religious/hope, faith-based films, and horror. Those 2 movies will always bring audiences out no matter what. Because you have such a rabid fan base for those movies or those genre type movies, they will go out and support them no matter what. So, it's interesting to see how many horror movies we've been getting the last couple of months. And it's continuing. So we'll see what happens when all that is said and done. So yeah, I posted a nice little quiz on the channel over the weekend about with all the new movies hitting on demand, and just trying to see what everyone was interested in seeing. And it looked like Furiosa was the big draw for streaming over the weekend, which is interesting because that means, at least it tells me, that everyone was interested in seeing that movie. They just didn't want to go out in the theaters to see it. And I wonder why that is, honestly. I really do. But here, I'll share the results with everyone here in case you are wondering and you're curious. So, a whopping almost 1,000 votes on this poll. Almost 1,000. 957 votes. And I asked, which movie would you want to see the most over the weekend? And Furiosa came out number one, 57%. In a Violent Nature, 24%. Boy and the Heron, 13%. And The Watcher, 6%. So very, very interesting breakdown there as to what people are really looking forward to watching if they had a chance to choose one over the other. So yeah. So I'm curious. What did everyone watch over the weekend? If you watched anything at all? Arnold saying you only wanted to watch the movie because of Scarlett. Well, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. I'm not going to deny that. Arnold says Men in Black 5 with Will Smith. I think there will come a time we will see that movie. You know, now that Will Smith is slowly making his comeback, I'm pretty sure we will see that. Because the last Men in Black movie was the one with Chris Hemsworth and who's that actress? She plays Tessa Thompson, right? And they were supposed to be more of like the international team or something like that. That didn't do so hot. So I don't know if the studio is going to be hopping on board to kind of make that movie anytime soon. But I think if you can guarantee that Will Smith will be in it, then that's a big possibility for them there. And I could see that possibly being a big hit if the story was done right. You know. Yeah, she was in Creed too. Yeah, she's the girlfriend slash, or was she the wife eventually of good old Creed himself? But I'm curious. Let me know what if you guys watched anything over the weekend. Would love to hear what everyone got to. And again, like I said, if you are just tuning in or if you haven't done so yet, smash that like button. Smash it. Fart on it. Yell at it.
You blew it!
However you want to interact with it, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I don't know how long I have to stay live tomorrow from 5 o'clock in the morning until 2. Is that your schedule for work? Yeah, that's an early schedule. Well, since Arnold has to probably go to sleep soon, why don't we talk about House of the Dragon? And we can talk about that. I do want to talk about In a Violent Nature, but I can save that till later in the show. But yeah, let's talk about House of the Dragon. If you had a chance to watch it over yesterday, curious about everyone's thoughts on House of the Dragon episode 3. We are going to war, everybody. It is inevitable, regardless of what both sides think. This was a nice little... It wasn't as strong as the previous episode, you know. But I think it was definitely a nice kind of calm before the storm, so to speak. I think moving forward, it's going to be really, really crazy because we are definitely going to be going into full-on war mode. Hold on. Sorry. I just saw a notification. I thought it was important. It's not that important. Daniel's asking what kind of fragrance do I wear? I wear Peacemaker by Eau de Toilette. That's what I wear. But thanks for your comment. Appreciate you asking. So in this episode, several things we come to learn and find out. Obviously, the big main point about this episode was that you have Rhaenyra, who is very hesitant with how things are going. She's actually very nervous. You could tell she is not liking where all of this is going. She has no control over Daemon, because Daemon made his way over to what do you call it, Harrenhal, right? Because he's been talking about that place forever, and he needs a win, right? He needs like a win. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take my dragon. I'm gonna fly on over there, and I'm gonna take it over. That's it. That's what I'm gonna do. It's a very strategic location for whatever this war is gonna turn out to be. So totally understand that case. But it's really funny to see how that all played out. It wasn't exactly what he was expecting, but the way the episode began was very foretelling. How you had these two neighboring towns, I guess you could call them towns or lands, right? Where they've always hinted that these two groups are always at odds against each other, have always been. We saw them bickering at each other in one episode last season, I think it was. And I think for those of you familiar with the storylines, I think you all know that there's always been beef and conflict between those two families. And because of a dispute amongst these young kids, I call them young because they look like they're very young, we see the end result of them actually finally coming to blows with each other. And you just see a field filled with destruction, dead bodies, all those things. The spoils of war, the results of war, the burning of the mill. And I think that is a very interesting foreshadow of what is to be expected once the Targaryens start their own civil war going on. So I love kind of like that contrast when you think about it. So it was a very interesting start to the episode. I agree. What Arnold said. It's nice to see the not only the burial of the two brothers together, but the fact that Rhaenyra she made sure she was there. She made sure she was there to pay respects, because I do feel like there's a part of her that feels extremely guilty about how things turned out. She is seeing the effects of this little bicker between the two sides of the family, between, her claim to the throne and what was, what eventually happened. She had a nice little conversation with, is that her aunt? I'm trying to think of like the family dynamics here. I believe it's her aunt. And, the aunt saying things about how the men of this country, the men of this family, they act so much on emotion, and they're so quick to go to war and to fight. And it could be very hurtful in the long run, which is kind of funny too, because you would always think, what is it they always say, especially in real life, that it's women who are the most emotional. But here we could see it's the men who are dictating how things are going overall. They prefer to choose violence over resolve, over communication. And we see that a lot with the children. The children are so fiery; they're so quick to act. And especially when you look at Alicent's side, all of the boys on Alicent's side have this kind of ferocity in them, where they just, the minute something happens, a minute a conflict happens, all they want to do is fight. They choose violence over a lot of things. And I don't know if they get that from Daemon, because or whoever, because if you look at the kids of Rhaenyra, they're a little bit more calm, right? They're a little bit more together. And I wonder if that is all a result of parenting, and you could kind of see that there are different ways that the mothers parent the kids. Rhaenyra has always been very close to all of her kids. which is very, very interesting. And Allison is kind of more distant in a way. She's more caught up in her politics or what she has to pay attention to and all. So it was kind of interesting just to see the result of that and what's happening now. With Damon off at that place, finding out that it's pretty much abandoned and broken. It's all a mess. So his hopes of forming and solidifying an army of his own in order to march to King's Landing and take over the throne doesn't look like it's going to be that easy for him at all. Which is interesting. And I love that little flashback that he had where you saw a young Rhaenyra. So it was nice to see the actress come back for that. And, how he's just seeing a lot of these things. And maybe now he's having regret or worry about what he started and what's going to be happening here. So it was all very, very interesting to see how all that played out. And, it was sad to see Rhaenyra having a lot of her kids and the young dragons being shipped away to another location because she's very afraid of what's going to turn out when this war starts. And of course, you have Cole heading out. You have the brother of Allison joining the fray. You kind of see like the difference in thought process as far as like, war is concerned or travel is concerned. You had that crazy like chase scene with one of the dragons and that group. But they're now all aware that this is happening, that there's something amiss, something is brewing. And because of that, you have that one moment where Rhaenyra is just like, I have a feeling my good old friend, my sister from another mother, she's not feeling all this war stuff, right? And I think I need to talk to her. I think I really, really need to talk to her. So I think it was really, really fast. And I know this is not in the books. I heard that already. But I think it's necessary to show that it's the men dictating what's happening here, not so much the women, right? And it was nice to see that little reunion. But the conversation that they had was very, very telling. And it didn't resolve anything. If anything, we find, or at least Allison finally realized that whatever was told to her was just not true. And she took it upon herself to interpret it the way she wanted to interpret. And when you saw Rhaenyra's face, it was like, wait a minute, you're telling me that my dad's dying breath to you was lines from the Song of Ice and Fire? It's all about the prophecy, not about your son ruling the throne. And you could tell in Allison's face, she's like, uh-oh, I think I done messed up. But it's too late. Oh, well, nothing I can do now. Everyone's marching here. Everyone's going there. Everyone's doing this. Everyone's doing that. I'd love to help you, but I can't because I don't have power in this right now. And there's nothing I can do. So it was such a disappointing reunion in that aspect. But again, there's something that Rhaenyra does, and the actress who plays Rhaenyra. Hold on. There's just something that Emma Darcy does, where she just has this face, and she makes sure to look in the camera, and you could tell, and you could get a sense of what she's thinking and how the mood changes immediately. And she was really hoping to have a nice little peace treaty going on between the two of them. But, Allison is so stubborn, really. She is so, she's very much like, I guess, like her father. And she's so proud. And she's like, you know what? Sorry, nothing I can do. I have no control, out of my hands. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. We're going to war. And you could see like Rhaenyra is just like, oh man, this didn't work out the way I wanted to. And then all of a sudden the wheels start turning and her face changes. And you can see like, well, you know what? If that's how it's going to be, so be it. Let's go. Let's get ready. And that's what's going to lead to this craze. I'm sure the next episodes are going to be bananas as far as war and fighting and all that. Great little precursor to the madness that is going to be approaching in the rest of the season as we approach the midway point of the season. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen here on out. Arnold, in this episode, she came much less angry with me in advance, and the other two episodes more like a good queen. Are you referring to Rhaenyra? Daemon says that this castle is the largest castle in the whole country, but unfortunately was destroyed by Balerion at that time. Right. And I don't think he or I don't think anyone understood how bad it was destroyed, right? During that battle, that fight. Because I feel like no one has even bothered to try to check up on them or go back and visit them. So it was really, in a way, it was spooky and creepy seeing Daemon going through and navigating through the castle, but it's all ruins. It's nothing. There's nothing there. And you don't see any townfolk, and all the heads of the place are just in this one small conference meeting area, all about to have their dinners, right? And they're just like, oh, well, welcome. We can't do anything. There's no way for us to fight you back or to even pose a threat. So yeah, you want to take over? By all means, take over. We need all the help we can get. And if that means giving in to you, then might as well at this point. So it was just very, very interesting to see how that happened. And then you had that one creepy lady who kind of has like foresight, right? And she says that thing to him. It's like, you're going to die here. And, you know, if that was me and someone said that to me, I was like, what do you mean? Say what you mean. Damn it. Don't leave me in the dark, you crazy lady. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how everything's going to unfold. So yeah, honestly, I give this episode a 3 out of 5 stars. If I was to give it a Letterboxd rating, it wasn't as strong as the last episode for me personally, but it was definitely a great setup and great kind of precursor to what is eventually going to be happening here, and that is the dance of the dragons, right, that we're leading to. So yeah, that little dream sequence when you saw the young Rhaenyra sewing the head of the doll together, you know, and again, it's like it kind of like gives Daemon second thoughts, like, you know, what she said, you do so many things and I have to clean up after you, right? And you know he has that connection with Rhaenyra. Maybe not so much right now, but he'll always remember when she was young and how there was such a love there, right? And I know we're talking about relatives and we're talking about family here. It's Game of Thrones. What do you expect, right? That's just how it is. But you kind of see like him like, uh-oh, what did I do? What have I done kind of way, right? So I'm pretty sure there's going to be moments moving forward where we're going to see that maybe he's second guessing a lot of things that he's doing. But we got to talk about, all right, we got to talk about this one particular moment in this show, in this episode. So you have this kid, the king, Aegon, right? Who he's trying so hard to compensate the fact that he's just not a good king. You know, first of all, he made Cole his hand, his right-hand hand, right? The hand who shouldn't be, because he should be like focused on strategy when it comes to battle and all that stuff. So obviously there's this like now conflict with Alicent and him. Who knows if they can continue their relationship or not? It's going to be very doubtful at this point. But he's heading out to battle. He thinks there's no other course but to take action and to move out. And of course, Aegon is just like, yeah, and I'm going to join him. You know, like, what an idiot. Like, you're the king. You shouldn't be out there, even though it does look good, because the minute something happens to you, then what's going to happen? You have no heir anymore. Right? I mean, you could kind of respect the fact that he wants to go out there and battle, but this kid is not even battle tested. Nobody is. I believe everyone involved that's going to war right now has not seen much war except for Christian, I think. So it's going to be messy. And he decided to make his friends, who we've seen in previous episodes drinking together and all that. Now they're his kind of like white cloaked guards, right? The white capes and all that. And they're all just like goofing around, hanging out. They're not even being proper or anything like that. So he was kind of dissuaded from going out to war. It's like, look, maybe now is not the good time for you to do it. And of course, you have Loris there, the Mr. Littlefinger, the little finger of the episode, whispering into his ear and like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe take pause or do whatever and all that. I love that he's having his own kind of whisper guy, and Rhaenyra is now having the white worm being her whisper person and all that. So there's going to be a lot of kind of spreading the word of this or finding information here. There's going to be a lot of shady stuff happening, which is really interesting. So I wonder if there's going to be like a battle of the whispers. But he's like, all right, you know what? Since we're not going out, why don't we go out drinking? Let's go party. And they go to that very famous, I guess it's like the go-to whorehouse where it's nothing but full of debauchery. And everyone's so free to do it. That's where we almost saw Daemon and Rhaenyra do it for the first time. And this is where his brother, Aemond, finds solace and comfort in his mother figure, right? But we talked about this before. There was a lot less sex and nudity, in the last two episodes. But man, I felt like they went way overboard in this one. And we were talking about The Boys at one point and how many people feel like the recent season of The Boys, most of the time, it's just shock factor. I feel like they're trying so much to follow the same shock value of Game of Thrones in House of the Dragon when it's not necessary. I never thought I would ever see an on-screen blowjob like what we saw here. That is the first thing you see when they walk down in this thing and he spreads open the curtain and you just see this lady go to town on this guy. And I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. And it lingers. It's not like a quick thing. It lingers there for a long time. They're pushing the boundaries of TVMA like there's no business right now. And I'm just like everything else that we saw in the rest of the episode, or in that one little particular scene, the sex stuff. We saw like a threesome or foursome happening, and then of course we saw the junk of good old Aemond. Nothing in comparison to this one particular moment where this lady was just having the time of her life. Like going, just deep throating this one guy, man. And it was just insanity. If this episode should have been rated X, NC-17, just for that. I'm surprised they got away with that, honestly. And of course, yes, we know it's a prosthetic. We know it's not real and all, but man, the act alone. And like I said, it felt like we were in that particular moment forever. It didn't go away right away. It was just there. And I'm just like, wow, the things you can get away with TV. Unbelievable. But hey, it's Game of Thrones, right? It's House of the Dragon. So really, really nuts. What's going on, Alex? Alex joining the vertical stream. Nice to see you back. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. And I hope you're having a great start to your week, man. But yeah, that was House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 3. And it was, like I said, there was good setup, good kind of preparation for what's to come in the rest of the season. And a lot of things I question as far as like shock value is concerned. Things that I found not to be necessary. Like there was one other scene, like as Cole's army was marching out of King's Landing, and they had to do like this pan up to the rat catcher who's now decomposing and has a raven picking at its eyes. Like that wasn't really necessary. Like, did you have to show that? So it is interesting how I do feel like they're trying so hard to remind us that this is Game of Thrones by including a lot of that shock value in the episode or in these episodes, especially when you had several episodes that didn't really have too much of that. So yeah, very, very interesting overall. Do you think they'll continue during Game of Thrones one day? I think that storyline, where things ended up there, I think that's done. I don't think they're ever going to go back to that. Especially since a lot of people in the fan base were really disappointed in how it all ended. I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to do a lot of spin-offs. Obviously, they're working on a lot of them, but I don't think we'll ever get a proper continuation of the main Game of Thrones series. I think that is all said and done. So obviously House of Dragons now, we're getting that other show with the Tall Knight, right? I think eventually we're still getting a Jon Snow show, right? I think they're still thinking about that. So we could see maybe Kit Harington come back, but yeah, I think that whole original show is done for. Interested to know how they proceed with the dragon, etc. You mean from that original show? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe one day they'll do like a follow up, right? It'll be a spin-off. It won't be like, oh, we're back, Game of Thrones season 10. It's not going to be like something like that. Like kind of like what they did with the Clone Wars. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that with that show. If anything, it's going to be a lot of spin-offs. It also depends on what's George R.R. Martin doing with the novels, right? Isn't he still working on the next novel, on the next book? That seems like it's going to be forever until it comes out. It's I forgot who I was talking to about this, but it would be kind of funny if he had like some sort of death clause that his story that he's working on will be locked away in a vault somewhere the minute he passes away or something like that. If it's not finished. If it's unfinished, no one will ever get to see it. It'll be locked up in a vault somewhere forever. I think it'll be kind of funny if something like that happens. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts of House of the Dragon so far. Would love to hear all your thoughts and comments on it all. And like I said, don't forget, hit that like button. It'll make me extremely, extremely happy. Arnold, did you like this episode that we just got? That'll be kind of cool if she like ended up becoming a walker. We just didn't see the transformation. Take a little break before we get into our next topic, but would love to hear anyone's thoughts and comments on House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3. Isn't it kind of weird that we're in Episode 3, but I feel like we're deeper in? We're more deeper in. Is it because they're such hour-long episodes, compared to like The Acolyte, which are like 35, 40 minutes? And it is interesting too, something I didn't bring up yet last week, how, we got a show in here, The House of Dragon, where he had a battle between two twins. And how impactful that was, right? To not just only their storylines, but to people around them and how it affected people around them. But yeah, we have a series like The Acolyte where we're dealing with two twins. And I feel like even though I still find the show entertaining, the impact is not as great, right? And I guess that's what happens when you have good storytelling compared to mediocre storytelling, right? I don't know. So Arnold 3 to 4 out of 5. Well, that's not that bad. That's a pretty decent rating. I still think last week's episode 2 was the better one so far. All that's missing is dragon sex. Well, at least we got an explanation finally about the dragon eggs. Because remember, I was curious as to where those dragon eggs came from. So I guess those are the same eggs that Damon Damon found when he was in Cyrax's lair, right? Like those are the eggs that he dug up. So it makes sense that they have to protect those eggs and the young dragons. I think it's also kind of cool that her kids are going away with the young dragons, and even though they feel like, well, what good are these young dragons going to do? They're not going to do much of anything. But by the time the kids grow up, the dragons will be all grown too, so they'll have their own set of dragon riders wherever they end up going. I think they're going back to that area where their mom passed away, right? Where the mom kind of like uh, took her own life by the dragon. The little dragon from the one I forgot her name. Dragon looks so disgustingly good. Are you talking about, what's that, Moon Dancer? Are you talking about that one? The one that we saw do the chase, the cold chase? It felt very Lord of the Rings. Like, get to the trees! Get to the trees! And what brilliant eyesight she has too. You know, because even during that scene, as she's like flying around and looking down, if that was me, I wouldn't have seen shit. But then they did show that one quick reflection of the armor, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, there they are. And the fact that she was able to tell that that was Christian Cole from that high up, even though she did get pretty close, she's got great eyes. She's going to be definitely an asset to the Rhaenyra army. Yeah, the one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. I think the dragon name is Moon Dancer or Moon something. Moon Blocker. Moon something. Moon Unit. No, that's the name of the daughter of who's that rock star? Also, now that we think about it, do we really want to see a dragon sex scene? I don't think we'd want to see that. That might be kind of weird. That might be a little bit too much. Also, I love how, you know, like the opening of the show, we have the tapestry being woven. I love that they now changed it to reflect some of the things we saw recently. So the whole picture of the sun with the beheading and how the blood thread goes right through the neck, that was pretty crazy. And the was the another one, the hanging of the rat catchers, how that's now woven into the tapestry, but now we just see a bunch of blood spilling over the tapestry, hinting at this new war between within the family that's about to happen. I love how they kind of like incorporated that into the opening of the show. They do that so brilliantly with the Game of Thrones series. I love how they do that. I remember watching it last night. I was like, oh, look, they just added new stuff to the beginning. Pretty cool. So, yeah. What are we hoping for in this next episode or for the rest of the season? More dragon fighting for sure. Since they are getting a season 2, I do wonder how this season's going to end. There has to be some sort of cliffhanger, right? But I'm wondering, again, I never read the book, so I don't know what to expect. But it will be curious to see how this season ends and what kind of cliffhanger we're going to get. What is Headless Nick all grown up? That's the boy from House of the Dragon. Nearly headless. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Just checking my phone, making sure that the world is not burning around me. Um, you'll freak out no matter what at the last episode. Yeah. I mean, I think we're only getting 8 episodes this season, right? Normally it would be 12, but I think we're getting 8. I think I remember reading before that it was definitely shorter than the last season. So it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to get, how this season's going to end when it's all said and done. But yeah, if you any of you have any additional thoughts on House of Dragon, by all means, don't be shy, hesitate, share it with the group. Yeah, they will make it exciting. Probably, yep, when the 1v1. It's going to be an interesting thing for sure. I'm very curious as to how the pieces are going to fall into place and who's going to survive, who's not. It's going to be messy. It's going to be really, really messy. And I think there's going to be a lot of heartbreak coming soon also. So it's one of those things where you're going to have to be ready for that stuff. But, you know, it's going to be fun. Regardless, it's all going to be fun. Nobody's going to survive. Well, yeah, I think we kind of know that. Yeah. Especially when you deal with the kids, it's going to be so heartbreaking to see these kids and their demise. It's going to be heartbreaking for sure. But yeah, I'm enjoying this season so far. I think, it's nice. Like, and I said this last week, I said this the week before. It's just nice to be back in this universe. And it's nice to be reminded again of good storytelling. Because I do feel like we make excuses on other television shows when they're not as strong. But it's nice to like legitimately feel like they're doing something right here. But I do see that there are people who also are not happy with this season either. They're saying that this is a weak season. I saw a lot of people were like very upset and disappointed with this episode. I don't know what people are expecting, but who knows? Having a dragon to help out with your barbecue would be so ideal. It reminds me, if you ever play the game Pal World, it's so funny because in Pal World, you have like these, obviously the game is like, it's almost like a Pokemon thing. But these guys will help you in your base doing several tasks here and there. And when you have to cook food, you have to have like a fire breathing animal to help cook the food for you. So I remember the last time I played, which was like such a long time ago, I had this big dragon like animal, and you could see it just blowing the fire into the cauldron or under the cauldron to cook the food up and all the dish up. And I think it's kind of funny. So could you imagine having a dragon at home for your barbecue purposes? That would be kind of neat. What's going on, MI? Nice to see you back. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend and you're having a great start to your week so far. Arnold wants a series just for Balerion. It'll be interesting though if they'll ever do a dragon centric episode or spin-off of House of the Dragon. Arnold has a serious question. Watch out, everyone. We're about to get serious right now. What's your question, man? Also, for anyone who are just tuning in, we just had our discussion on House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Or let us know. Earlier, we talked about the weekend box office. Inside Out 2, joining the $1 billion club. Quiet Place, having a great opening weekend for the franchise. Best ever. So if anyone has any thoughts or wants to add to anything on that, let us know. Monday shift at work is over, so that's always good. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it, am I? I'm waiting in anticipation for Arnold's question. I don't know what it's going to be. In a little bit, I'm going to talk about this movie I saw over the weekend, In a Violent Nature. I'll be giving my thoughts and review on this movie. Which dragons do you think remind of your dragon tattoo? I'm going to have to look at it again. And also, I'm very bad at the names of the dragons. So that might also be hard for me to say, like, well, it reminds me of this dragon or that dragon. I have to really look at you would really like to know yourself. All right, I'm looking at it right now. Is there a way to pause the video on? No. Who on the show has like the red dragon? Or are there several red dragons? I don't know. It kind of Rhaenyra doesn't have the red dragon, right? Maybe I should pull up an image of all the current dragon. Caraxes, Daemon has a red dragon. Kind of reminds me of that one. In a way. I think. Here, let me pull up the dragons of House of the Dragon. Let's see. See if I could get an image of all these guys. Not really. But yeah, I think the dragon in your tattoo reminds me a lot of Daemon's. Especially like the face. Am I asking, is last year's summer box office better? We had Barbie, Super Mario Brothers, and Oppenheimer. As of right now, I will say last year was better, but we're still early in the year. We obviously will not know the impact yet, but obviously Deadpool and Wolverine is going to have a major impact. Not a lot of people were expecting Inside Out 2 to have such an impact like it has now. And then you have other potentials out there like Despicable Me 4. People are thinking Twisters is going to do really well at the box office, so that's another one, right? And then you have movies at the end of the year like Wicked that has the potential to do well. So we'll see, but let me look at. So this year, I don't have like full totals, but we have at least domestically. Let's see here, 8 movies that are over $100 million domestically. We have one movie that is 200 million above 200 million, and Inside Out is almost at the $500 million mark domestically. When you look at last year, and again, I'm just going off of domestic numbers here, we had a huge surprise with Sound of Freedom, over 100 million. We had definitely more than 10 movies that are over 100 million. We had 24 movies that were over $100 million last year. We have 8 movies that are over 200 million. Right? So when you look at the numbers now, it's easy to say that last year was definitely a lot better. And this year has been kind of rough. And I think that's almost to be expected because of the writer's strike, the actor strike. It pushed a lot of movies out, right? So I think a lot of movies that were expected to come out this year are coming out next year. So I think it's kind of to be expected that this year may be a weaker year as far as box office is concerned, which would only mean that next year is going to be bananas. It has the potential to be crazy. So we'll see what happens. I was saying it looks like Dreamfire. Who's Dreamfire? Dreamfire. Dreamfire sounds like a band name, like a hair metal band. We are Dreamfire. Let's see. I'm gonna look up Dreamfire. Dreamfire. Dragon. Oh, I could see. Yeah, I see that because of the kind of like the horns, the ears. They are kind of like extended, and they extend out to the back. I can kind of see that. Yeah. I see that. But I also do feel like it has a lot of features, facial like face features that Damon's dragon has. So maybe it's like a mix of the two. Maybe. All right. Let me get into my review of this movie I watched over the weekend, which was an interesting movie, something I was actually looking forward to checking out, and that is In a Violent Nature. So for those of you who don't know what In a Violent Nature is, basically this is a horror movie, horror thriller movie that puts you into the perspective of the monster, the being, the shape. I guess if you were to compare him to Michael Myers, it's more of like a Jason figure from Friday the 13th, and in a way has almost similar origins. But basically, what this movie is that you follow basically almost every step of this guy, of this thing, as it's going around this small particular area in the woods, seeking, I guess, revenge or looking for a particular item. Basically, how it all starts. I know I'm saying the word basically a lot. So every time, if you want to play a drinking game, take a shot every time I say the word basically. But the premise here is that you have a bunch of kids who go to this location or who are just like hang out in this location, and there's like a legend, a lore about something that happened. And in this one particular spot, you have a necklace that is tied very heavily to this legend and lore. And, you know, unbeknownst to them, they're like, oh, this looks like a cool necklace. I'm going to take this necklace. And because of that, that's what kind of brings this being back to life. Because it is a memento of his mom. And I believe the mom gave him this pendant, this keepsake. And so now you get a sense that, okay, this creature is looking for said pendant. That is the purpose for his resurrection and for his coming back to life. So now you follow basically this guy, you know, seeking out this item, and along the way, getting rid of anyone that actually gets in his way, right? And that's basically a very similar premise to any of these horror movies you've seen in the past. You know, your Friday the 13th, your Halloween's, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It always deals with younger kids because, you know, those the teenagers or what have you, they're the ones that don't really know how to do things correctly and they don't know how to act. But as you follow the journey of this thing, you know, a lot of questions that you may have had in the past about, well, how does Jason get to a certain spot? You know, like how long does it usually take him? How long, what is kind of the thought process when it comes to an execution, right? And it's so funny, but at the same time, it is kind of, I guess, relaxing when you see there's a lot of walking involved. And it's not something that you really think about. But for this guy to get from one place to another, obviously all he does is walk. And you just see him walking day and night from one place to another. And as you're following him walking, it's almost this weird, peaceful moment, like watching a YouTube video of someone walking in the forest, or watching a YouTube video of just cameras hanging out in the forest, right? And it's so surreal in a way where you're watching something that could lead to a horrific moment, but you're feeling calm and peace as you're just watching someone, this horrific figure walking through the forest, through grass, trees, all those things. So it's really, really funny and interesting when you look at it in that way. What's going on, Suck? Nice to see you here. Always a pleasure to see you. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're having a great week so far. Hope you had a good Monday. We're talking about In a Violent Nature, a movie I saw over the weekend. So yeah, so in that aspect, following this, I guess, monster of a creature, it's a very interesting point of view here, for sure. There's obviously not a lot of dialogue, not a lot of sound, because he himself doesn't talk, right? You hear conversations that he kind of listens in on, or that he stumbles himself into. For example, like his first encounter was this house that he came across, because there's a guy who lives in this house and for some reason loves putting out all of these traps to capture whoever he wants to capture. And he's having an argument with a police officer or a marshal about how all the dogs are getting caught in these traps and it's becoming a menace. And he's like, I have every right to do what I want, and there are no such traps going around, blah, 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 this and that. You know, so it was really, really interesting to see. And then you just see this guy walking towards the house, you know, just nonchalantly walking. You're seeing the argument being had there. And he's like looking around, finds himself inside the house. And then he sees in this house what looks almost to be like the mom's pendant. And in this weird kind of way, he's looking at a flashback. He gets reminded because he sees this photo. And he gets a flashback moment of his father handing him this pendant, right? And it's just like, oh, this is your mom's, and she would have wanted you to have it. So now before anything starts happening, we understand what's the motivation of this guy. And I guess in a way, if this was Jason, he would have been reminded of his mom, right? And how he was wronged by the counselors for not paying too much attention to him, and that's why he drowned in the lake. Or whatever Michael Myers was reminded about. So it was just very interesting to see how if we were really following the point of view of the monster, this is how he gets reminded, and this is how he gets the motivation to do what he wants to do. And right now, his main goal is, I need to find this pendant. And anyone that gets in my way is going to catch it. And we basically see that, right? So it's really, really interesting to follow all those things. Travis, what's going on, Travis? Checking in in the vertical stream. Big fan of Superman, but do not like the new Superman suit. Mainly also because of the logo. All right, well, I mean, that's fair. I also do think it might be too early to have judgment on the suit just yet. We're seeing a lot of paparazzi-like photos on the suit. I personally would love to see it in motion, in action, before I have my own judgments on it. It reminds me, someone else brought it up before, which I thought was an interesting take on it. It reminded them, and I see it now, of the Kingdom Come outfit and symbol. So there's multiple influences. New 52, Kingdom Come. So I think it's really interesting to see James Gunn utilizing those influences with this new suit, But I see it's very mixed out there. A lot of mixed feelings about the suit. So it's very interesting. Suck, you thought I was talking about The Ritual? What's The Ritual? Is that a movie? A show? And yes, as Arnold says, don't forget, hit that like button if you are new to the stream. Would really greatly appreciate it. It'll make all of us very happy. So yeah, so majority of it's a horror movie. Okay. Is it a new one, or I don't keep up to date with a lot of horror movies, but I'm excited to watch some of them, like this one. So yeah, so lots of walking, lots of creeping in on conversations. But let's talk about the major things here, and those are the big kills, right? So with any horror movie, especially this type of genre horror movie that is very much reminiscent to Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or whatever, it's always interesting to see the setup of what's going to happen when the killer goes through with whatever he's about to do. And one of the funniest ones that I remember was, you have these two women who are talking to each other by the lake. And you could see there's like a flirtation going on, right? And, they're supposed to do yoga, but she's like, no, I want to swim. And this was kind of my ploy to get you to swim with me. She's like, well, I'm going to do yoga. So I'm going to go over here. If you want to join me with yoga, meet me there. And she's like, well, I'm going to swim. Well, you see this guy, and he's across the other side of the lake, right? So it's so funny. You just see him walking into the lake and then disappearing, just gone, right? And for the longest time, all you see is the lake and a long shot of the girl swimming. And then finally we get a closer look, and she's just swimming along, right? And all of a sudden, ah! Silence. And then silence. And then eventually you just see her dead body floating. And then the camera pans, and then you just see him coming out of the water. Still walking, still, one-track mind, this guy. And is like, okay, she didn't have my pendant. So the other girl, maybe she has it. So I'm going to go find where she is. And it's so a lot of interesting camera choices, a lot of interesting kind of ambiance like moments. And I guess that's a great way to describe this. It's a movie that has a lot of ambiance in it. Like I said, it's very relaxing hearing the guy walking. And you just hear the grass moving. If he steps on a twig, you hear the twig, going off. You hear a lot of the animals around him in the trees, whatever. And then like again with the water, you just hear the water movements, the girl swimming, him entering the water, coming out of the water. All very interesting stuff to see. And that was basically his third body count. When he comes to body count, that was the third in that line. Prior to that, we had another situation where we get told the story of the legend of this guy. Because now, you have a campfire. And of course, there's always that one guy that knows the whole story, right? And he's going on, he's telling everybody, it's like, oh, the legend of Johnny. And, he was this and that, and he was accidentally killed because of a prank that the town's kids pulled on him. And eventually he came back, and to seek revenge of the town, he murdered everybody and wiped out the whole town. And, to make sure that they kept him from coming back, they burnt the whole place down. And he was supposedly buried in this thing, never to be seen again, and all those things, right? So we get to learn a little bit of the lore of this guy. And we get to see who has the necklace, because we see one guy look at the necklace that kind of brought him back to life. And you see him in the background watching the whole thing, listening in. So now he says, he has his mindset. It's like, okay, that guy has it. So whatever I need to do to get to this guy, I'm going to do it. And there was another funny moment where they all took a group photo, and you could see so clear that he's in the background, that he's just there. And they're all taking selfies, a big group selfie, right? But the guy who told the story is kind of like, he's like the odd man out, right? He's the guy that everyone makes fun of and all that. So, and he's a big pothead. So he goes off on his own, and he's like, kind of smoking a joint, listening to music. And this is the first major kill that we actually see on screen. And it's done in a very brutal way, where this guy has like a saw, and he basically goes behind the tree and shoves this in the guy's mouth and pulls back until his whole head gets chopped off, right? Very brutal. It took a long time too. Like this thing, like normally when you see a slasher film, it'll be like, and then that's it. This one, we actually see just the struggle of the thing going through. And it was just so crazy to see this whole thing. So that's the first time. Then obviously the lady is the third time. The second time on screen, we see something happen. But then we get to the yoga girl. And this is a moment that was so over the top, so absurd. And if there's two things this movie does, is one, it gives you that weird sense of ambiance and knowledge of this is what these creatures go through when they're trying to get from one place to another, right? Or their point of view when they're doing whatever they're doing. The second thing is they wanted to be way over the top when it comes to the actual kills. And it's so bananas what happens here. This is around the time where he finally found his mask. So he has his identity. And the mask is representative of, I think, the firemen or the coal miners. This is what they wore during that time he grew up in this particular area. So that makes sense. And then he has these hook things that's connected to a chain. And it was so brutal the way he took this one girl out, where basically turned her into a pretzel. And I was so not expecting that. So not expecting it. Where sticks a thing in her head. She hears him coming and she's like, oh no, but she's by a cliff, so she can't move back, right? Although I think if she kind of did a slide, she would have been able to make it. A lot of these people were really stupid. They didn't know how to handle themselves. They just you could tell like they were really dumb. Another typical trope when it comes to these type of movies. But then the minute she gets spiked in the head, she turns around and looks at him for what felt like a minute. And then he just proceeds to like slice her stomach open. Or no, he uses his hand, punches her through the stomach, turns her around, and pulls on the chain so that the head basically bends down and goes out towards her back. It's insanity. It's really so silly. And it felt like this whole particular scene took 10 minutes. It was so bizarre. And then at the end of it, when it was all said and done, he just kicks her off the cliff. And you just see whatever was left just going down, sliding down the hill into the water down below. Really nuts, right? And, and then we proceed. We see him doing other things, looking for these other people. And then now you get the moment where you hear some of the friends. They're like, where is so-and-so? And where is this? And everyone seems to be disappearing. Something's happening here. And it must be that guy in the photo. So you could kind of tell like, oh, they're all freaking out because they know they're not alone. There's a weird being in the photo that they took and something's not right. So people are going out for help. Some people are left behind. This person catches the business again, blah, blah, blah. There's this amazing moment where we have a sky shot, like an overview shot of the guy. He was knocked down for a bit. He gets up, throws his knife. We find out that the knife hit the other person in the head, so they're out. And now he's slowly chasing this other guy who's really trying to like worm his way out. Crazy stuff. Really, really crazy stuff. And very brutal. Very brutal. And of course, there's a moment where the marshal shows up and, they're trying to take this guy out. And we hear more of the lore. It's like, why did you take that necklace? Don't you understand? He is awake now because of it. And all he wants is that thing back. And he's like, the kids are like, well, what if we just go back and put it back? It's like, you can't do that. There's no turning back. You can't go back anymore. And then that's when this guy shows up, and, people are like firing guns at him and he's slowly being taken down, but he's not fully dead yet. And he slices this guy up and blah, blah, blah. So when it's at the end of the day, you see him wailing on this one particular person. And he just can't stop. For some reason, he's having so much fun whacking away at this guy's head. Bam, 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 bam. And the one girl is just in shock with everything. Because they came up with this whole ploy that, oh, maybe we could burn this guy. Right? But it's too late. Right? She's the left sole survivor. Everyone's dead at this point. And he's having fun. For whatever reason, he's just hacking away at this guy's head. Guy's dead already. He's just keep hacking away. So what does she do? She leaves a canister of gasoline, leaves the necklace there, and she runs away. And this is where I think my biggest criticism of the movie is. She's running, which feels like 10 minutes worth of her running. And she's getting lost. We can see that she's going in circles because she's running for like 2 minutes. Then we hear the hacking sounds again. And she's like, oh, she's frantic and running. And then we hear the hacking sounds again. So you could tell she's getting lost. She's going in circles. I guess in a way to kind of say like how the forest engulfs you and how there's no escaping the forest sometimes. She finally makes it out into a road where there's like no end in sight. And she's like just staring off in the distance, probably wondering how the hell am I going to get out of here? Comes across a person, a lady, flags her down. A lady tries to help her up. It's like, okay, we're going to take you to the hospital. Don't worry. And then she goes off on this weird tangent about a storyline about, I think, her husband or her brother that basically, fought a bear, or there was a crazy bear that was, wreaking havoc in the town. And it just went on and on and on. And this poor girl, she's like in shock. She's like half listening, right? She's in pain. She's bleeding out. She's about to pass out. But this lady just keeps going on and on about this story that really makes no sense and had nothing to do with the movie. And then she sees that the girl is suffering. So she's like, oh, let me pull over. We need to patch you up. And then now she wakes up and she's like, we can't stop here. We can't stop here. We got to keep going. We got to keep going. She's like, we can't keep going because I need to patch you up or else you're going to pass out on me. Right? And she's like, okay. But then she stares off into the forest, right? And you could tell like she is just heavily traumatized by everything. Now, I wonder what if they're trying to do here is, are they trying to kind of hint to the viewer that because of this experience, she is now going to be forever traumatized in maybe clicking something in her that is not going to be able to have her leave the forest or leave the experience from the forest, and maybe she's going to be forced to come back and do something. Or, as we've seen before, like in Halloween or whatever, is the spirit of this guy now in her and following her out as they go. So very much like in the vein of Halloween, maybe she's going to go nuts, and then maybe she's going to end up doing something wherever they go. Because the way the movie ends is that, all right, she's getting patched up. She's looking into the forest. She loses herself in that moment, zoning out. We cut back to where that canister was left. We don't hear the hacking anymore, but the necklace is gone. So the guy finally got the necklace. And that's how the movie ends. Right? So it was an interesting movie. I loved how they approached everything. There were a lot of moments that felt like it just lingered in that moment. But I guess if you are going through it, the motions along with this guy, nothing's going to be quick. Like just seeing him coming out of the ground for the first time as he's like, coming back to life, I felt like that took forever. And we're seeing him coming out of this thing. Every time he walks, it seems to take forever, right? The kills themselves take forever. There's one moment where he took out the marshal, and that wasn't enough. It's not enough that the marshal is already dying, but he has to go extreme. So what happens? He finds a machine that is like a machine for like splitting logs in half. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to use this machine and I'm going to, cut off his arm with it just to test it out. Like, oh, that seems to work. All right, so you know what? Might as well put your head here. And we're now going to sever your head off. It's like a lot of stuff that is so unnecessary and so way over the top. It's like, what? We don't know what's driving this person or this being, this shape, to feel the need to be so obsessive when it comes to violence. But I just thought it was really funny. But the whole ending, I felt like they didn't know how to end the movie. 10, 15 minutes, what felt like forever. Just hearing this lady ramble on about some nonsensical story. And maybe if I were to watch it again and pay really close attention, maybe it has something to do with an allegory of what's happening to the events here or what's happening in the movie overall. But I just thought it was like so unnecessary. But interesting movie overall. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I haven't logged it yet, but that's the rating I would give. If you are curious about the movie, I definitely recommend you checking it out. I wouldn't pay for this movie, honestly, if I'm to be completely honest. Maybe wait for some sort of streaming. It's going to be on Shudder. So if you have access to Shudder, then that's something that you could eventually watch there. But very interesting. I appreciate horror movies that take it in a different direction or give us another angle or another point of view. And that's what we definitely got here in A Violent Nature. We got a point of view, very different. I just wish the execution, it could have been a lot tighter, the execution. But I think overall it was well done for what we got. But because of the ending, because of some of the moments that just lingered on too long, I knocked a couple of stars off of that, off of my overall rating. So there you go. So very much like the lady in the movie, I felt like I kept rambling on about this movie. I'm curious if anyone is interested in watching this movie. Let me know in the comments. Again, if you're just coming to the stream, please hit that like button. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. It would be amazing and awesome. Let me catch up with the chats now. Ritual is about a group of friends who get off trail and evil lives in the forest. Worst case for camping. There's a reason why I never like camping or I never want to go camping. It's because I get so freaked out at night by all the random sounds everywhere. Yeah, I get very paranoid. Now, if I was in a log cabin, maybe I feel a little bit safer, but if I'm surrounded by nothing but tree and forest, then it freaks me out. It really freaks me out. That's why movies like that really freak me out. So like a plot twist is kind of lame, but go to a forest in Europe in October after watching this movie. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. The Ritual. Arnold saying, just found a Funko Pop figure that you rarely get and it's expensive, but you paid a good price. You sent it to me on Instagram. All right, I'll check it out later. Is it that stupid like Texas Chainsaw ending from the newest film? So I never saw the newest Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There were two new ones, weren't there, Suck? Wasn't there one with God, who was in it? Not Matthew McConaughey, but like a well-known actor now. And then I think there was another new one after that. Am I correct in saying that? I never watched any of those. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though the original was a unique movie, I was never a big fan of the series. So I was never really interested in watching any of the other reboots or retellings. The ending with the Tesla. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I will say that the ending in this movie was kind of... it got to the point where I was just like, why are we still watching this? Like, why is this still going on? Like, this needs to end. And I felt like they just didn't know how to end the movie. Like, that story the lady told felt so unnecessary and so unrelated. You know. But I did like the kind of like the things that they could be possibly hinting with the girl. Because as she was about to go into the car, you had like this weird moment where all of a sudden her listening just became very echoey, like as if something entered her in a way. And you saw her kind of like looking around, kind of be like, what was that? What's happening? What's following me? Right? So I wonder if they're kind of hinting that there's a supernatural aspect going on where, oh, you're not escaping. You think you're escaping now, but I'm going to be following you wherever you go, and might manifest into her like maybe trauma or something, and then may, very much like what we saw in the Halloween franchise, how the little girl eventually became the killer, right? Because she was so like traumatized by Michael Myers. I wonder if they're hinting at something like that. I was saying it's not too rare to get it on eBay. Sometimes I've been looking for characters for a long time. Let's go. So did you get it, or is this something that you've been looking for? I'll check it out right now. Oh, I remember when these came out. Yeah, the throne figures. So it was funny. I actually remember when these were coming out because, well, this one is Danny at was at Dragonstone, in her throne in Dragonstone. But I remember, this is a nice figure, by the way. But I remember the dragons of Game of Thrones explained in 15 minutes. Oh, cool. That's the video you sent me. Well, I definitely want to check that out later for sure. Give me a better understanding of all the dragons and stuff. But I remember Funko came out with a series of figures where all of these people were sitting on the Iron Throne. And they made multiple versions because at the end of the day, we never knew who was going to end up in the Iron Throne at the end of the series, right? So you could kind of see how there was a battle of popularity and a battle of price based off of what people were hoping to see. So, like the Jon Snow figures were at one point very expensive, and it just kept going back and forth, back and forth. Um, so I remember I have a couple of them, and it's a novelty at this point, where you have Jon Snow sitting on the throne, and you have who's that? Lena Headey's character sitting on the throne. Really, really funny stuff. Suck saying the final girl is getting away in a Tesla on autopilot, and they're looking in the roof window, and then that's hilarious. That's actually pretty damn funny. So you mean Leatherface was hanging onto the car the whole time and just waited for the moment to decapitate them through the moonroof? And of course, it's on autopilot, so just keep. Oh, that's hilarious. That's pretty funny. This movie, what this movie did, also a good job it did, is it didn't really tell you specifically what time period it was. So it's kind of interesting. It felt like maybe it was in the 80s or maybe the 90s. It was very hard to pinpoint. Well, actually, no, I take that back. They had cell phones. So obviously it's more modern, but it felt like it was taking place at an older time, like in the past somehow, if that makes any sense. Because there wasn't much reliance on technology in the movie, which I thought was great. Even the car the lady was driving was an old car. So, I was saying the price is 60 to 70 euro. Only 3 in stock. Well, I'm glad you got it. That looks like a very nice figure. I always appreciate a nice looking Funko Pop. Even though I stopped collecting them, more for my own sanity, I just can't do it anymore. But I'm curious, after hearing me talking about this movie, does this sound like a movie you'll be interested in seeing one day? Let me know in the chat, in the comments. Also, I'll be hanging out for like another 10 minutes. I have a busy day ahead of me, so I can't wait. Mainly because I have to make sure to make it to the city early for my screening. I can't wait. I'll be able to see Longlegs tonight, so I'm excited for that. And again, a quick reminder, if you are just joining on the stream, don't forget, hit that like button. Would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Also, let me know if there's any other topics you'd like to talk about before I head on out for the rest of the day. And as I do that, let me just check my phone. Just checking in on any important updates there may be. Let's see here. Uh-oh, what's this? Wow. Whoa. Interesting. Okay. A lot of big basketball NBA news dropping in the last couple of days. So it's just interesting to see. Man, Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks, huh? How about that? Crazy, crazy stuff. There's a lot of movement. A lot of movement going on in basketball right now. If you're a fan of the NBA, a lot of players are moving all over the place. Oh, you started collecting Funkos 2 weeks ago? Oh, so you're new to the whole hobby. It's not childish. If you like it, you like it. Nothing childish about it. I mean, it's easy for me to say when you see like I have like some in my back, and obviously I have a whole bunch more that's in boxed up in storage right now. But I've seen people with like rooms dedicated to Funko Pops. That's how big of a hobby it is. So it's not childish at all. If it brings you joy, nothing wrong with it. You're not harming anybody. No one should have anything to say about it. What's everyone planning for the rest of the week? If you are here located in the US, who has fun July 4th plans? I'm a little disappointed because for the last 10 years, I've been able to watch kind of the fireworks on July 4th from my window, from my balcony. But this year, they're bringing it to the Hudson River, which is on the other side of the city. So I won't be able to see them this year. So it's a little disappointing. It would have been fun to maybe do a stream that night and show my view of all the fireworks going off. I might still be able to do that because a lot of people locally will do their own fireworks. So maybe I can do something like that, show people how it looks like from my point of view during July 4th. All right, Arnold. Arnold's going to be going to sleep. He has an early day tomorrow with his new job, so have a good night. I will be back here streaming on Wednesday with my typical Star Wars topic themed stream. We'll be talking about the latest episode of Acolyte and any other Star Wars related news that may have dropped recently. So, hope to see you then. Yeah, this week is going to be interesting. I'm going to stream on Wednesday. Definitely going to stream on Friday. Huge potential to stream Thursday night because it's a holiday here. So maybe we could have like a nighttime hangout stream if you're going to be around. But have an awesome night. Always a pleasure to have you as part of the streams. Funny. I think I broke a record today. It's one of the first times where I didn't use a lot of the soundboard.
Yeah!
So there you go. The low-key geek army. I love it. I love it. Also, I'm going to be posting a question on the channel soon. And maybe you could let me know here, if, whoever's still watching. I'm curious as to what you guys' preferences are when it comes to my reviews. Obviously, one of the big things on the channel that I do is movie reviews, right? I wonder if you guys prefer I do them as separate videos or if you like me doing them during the live streams. I'm very curious which is better. So if you have any thoughts about that now, let me know here in the chat, or I'll just post a question during the week to find out more from everybody. And then maybe the streams you guys prefer it if I just talk about more like news related stuff. I'm very curious. All right, y'all. I think now is a good time for me to call it a day and start bidding all of you adieu. But before I do that, as always, I love to shout out all the support that I got today. Everyone who tuned in to say hi. Clone Wars, Arnold, of course. Jester came by earlier. T, always a pleasure. Ravi and Sorana, awesome for you to stop by. Am I dead yet? Nice of you to stop by as well. Suck, always a pleasure having you here. Travis from earlier asked one question, then ran away. Alex, always a pleasure seeing you. Scorched, aggressive, awesome to have you part of today's stream. Really happy. Cosmic Vision. Everyone who tuned in, chimed in, said your piece. Always a pleasure being with you guys. Again, I'll be back again on Wednesday. We'll talk about the Acolyte and Star Wars stuff. So if you want to talk about Star Wars, obviously come back, hang out with me here. And I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I'll be watching Longlegs tonight. So I'm going to be very excited about that. And hopefully I can get some sort of review out tomorrow. With my, sharing my thoughts about the movie in general. Because I don't think I can wait till Wednesday to talk about it. Because that's something I'm sure I'm going to want to talk about as soon as possible. So, as I head on out for the day. No, let's not do that. Let's not do that song. Let's do this. I like this song. All right, y'all. I'm going to head on out for now. Thank you again for tuning in and watching. And don't forget, hit that like button. Would really greatly appreciate it. But until next time, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. See you all next time. All right, peace out, everyone.